Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. I hope everyone is doing well today. So in today's lesson, I'd like to speak about some concepts that you may encounter in SwiftUI. Okay, so I'd like to talk, as mentioned in the title, about dynamic list, the for each loop, and finally the identifiable protocol. Okay, so we will create this UI. Okay, so instead of using a table view, we will use list in Swift. Okay, so instead of using a table view, we use list in SwiftUI to present rows of data. If you built a table view with UI kit before, you know it take you a bit of work to implement a simple table view. Okay, so it will take even more efforts for building a table view with custom cell layout. Okay, SwiftUI simplifies this whole process. With just a few lines of code, you will be able to list data in table form. Okay, even if you need to customize the layout of the rows, it only requires minimal efforts. Okay, so in this lesson we will start with a simple list. Once you understand the basics, I will show you how to present a list of data with a more complex layout, just like in our simulator just right there. Okay, so let's begin with a simple list. Okay, first fire up Xcode and create a new project. Okay, so here I will launch my Xcode, create a new Xcode project using the single view application template. Okay, let me just resize quickly my window. Okay, perfect. Then select single view app. In the next screen, set the project name to whatever you want. I will call it list demo en, okay, for the English version of this course, and fill in all the required values. Okay, just make sure you select SwiftUI for the user interface option. Okay, cool. So Xcode should generate some code in the content view.swift file. Okay, just right there. Now update the code like this. So here you can delete this line and rather write list. It's like that. Okay, select this one, open curly brackets, and here we can fill it with a text object. Okay, item number 1. Okay, I'm going to copy paste this line a few more times. Okay, just like that. Okay, and then you can simply change the sentence just like that. Okay, perfect. So that's the code you need to build a simple list or table. Okay, when you embed the text views in a list, the list view will present the data in rows. Here each row shows a text view with different description. Okay, you can press resume and see the result. Okay, perfect. Okay, so the same code snippet can be written like this using ForEach. So here you can cut all of these lines, okay, and rather write for each, okay, open parentheses, from 1 to 5, okay, as we have 5 items, okay, comma ID backslash dot self, okay, open curly brackets, just like that. Here you can write index in, and here simply rewrite a text object just like that and write item, okay, backslash, and here simply write index, and as you can see we get the same result. Okay, so since the text views are very similar, you can use for each in SwiftUI to create views in loop. Okay, so you can provide for each with a collection of data or a range, but one thing you have to take note is that you need to tell for each how to identify each of the item in the collection. Okay, the parameter ID here, okay, is for this purpose. Why does for each need to identify the items uniquely? SwiftUI is powerful enough to update the UI automatically when some or all items in the collection are changed. So it needs an identifier to identify the item when it's updated or removed. Okay, so in the code above we pass for each a range of values to loop through. Okay, the identifier is set to value itself 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. The index parameter stores the current value of the loop. Okay, say for example it starts with the value of 1, the index parameter will have a value of 1. In the closure, it's the code you need to render the views. Okay, here it's the text view we need to create. Its description will change depending on the value of index in the loop. That's how you can create 5 items in the list with different titles. Let me show you one more technique. The same code snippet can be further rewritten like this. First, erase that. And here you can write $0. Okay, so you can omit the index parameter and use the shorthand $0, which refers the first parameter of the closure. Okay, let's further rewrite the code to make it even simpler. You can pass the collection of data to the list view directly. Here is the code. You can simply cut that. Okay, put it here, and then simply delete the for each loop like this, and as you can see we get the same result. Okay, you just need a couple lines of code to build a simple list table. Okay, perfect. So now that you know how to create a simple list, let's see how to work with a more complex layout. In most cases the items of a list view contain both text and images. Okay, so how can we implement that? If you know how image, text, vstack and stack work, you should have some ideas about how to create one. Okay, let's use it as an example and see how easy it is to build the same table with SwiftUI. Okay, so to build the table using UIKit, you'll need to create a table view or table view controller and then customize the prototype cell. Okay, furthermore, you'll have to code the table view data source to provide the data. That's quite a lot of steps to build a table UI. Okay, now let's see how the same table view can be implemented in SwiftUI. First, download the image pack from the link below the video. Okay, unpack the zip file and import all the images to the asset catalog. So here, select all the images and then drag and drop them just like that. Perfect. So now switch over to content-view.swift to code the UI. Okay, first let's declare 2 arrays in content view. These arrays are for storing the cafe names and images. Here is the complete code. Okay, so don't worry, I will put a sheet in order that you can copy paste the 2 arrays. Okay, so just like that. Okay, so both arrays have the same number of items. While the cafe names array stores the name of the cafes, the cafe images variable stores the name of the images you just imported. Okay, to create a list view with all these items, all you need to do is update the body variable like this. So here you can write cafe names dot indices. Okay, here you can write index in. Okay, then here you can call an add stack. Okay, just like that. We can delete this line. Into the add stack you're going to call an image object. Okay, open self dot cafe images with the right index, obviously. Okay, then give it some modifiers. The first one is resizable, the second one will be a frame. Okay, 40 by 40. okay, a corner radius with a value of 5, and then a text object, okay, with self.cafe names and index. Okay, perfect. Okay, press resume. So we've made a couple of changes. First, it's the list view. Instead of a fixed range, we pass the range of the cafe names. Say the cafe names array has 17 items, we'll have a range from 0 to 16, okay? So in the closure, the code was updated to create the row layout, okay? So I won't go into the details as the code is self-explanatory if you fully understand stack views, okay? With less than 10 lines of code, we can create a list view with custom layout, okay? So as mentioned before, list can take in a range or a collection of data. You've learned how to work with a range, okay? Let's see how to use list with an array of cafe data. So instead of holding the cafe data in two separate arrays, we'll create a cafe structure to better organize the data, okay? This structure has two properties, name and image, obviously. Insert the following code at the end of content view.swift file. So here you can write struct, okay, here you can write cafe, here you can write var name type of string and var image to be type of string as well, okay? So with this structure we can combine both cafe names and cafe images arrays into a single array. Now delete the cafe names and cafe images variable and replace them with this variable in content view. So here you can delete them and rather copy paste this one. So if you are new to Swift, each item of the array represents a record of a specific cafe. Once you made the change, you'll see an error in Xcode here, okay, complaining the missing of the cafe names variable, okay? So that's normal because we've just removed it, okay? Now update the body variable like this. So here you can simply write cafes, okay? Here ID will be name now, okay? Here it's gonna be cafe, okay? And then inside here you can write cafe dot image and here cafe dot name. Cool. So take a look at the parameters we pass into list. Instead of passing the range, we pass the cafes array and tell the list to use its name property as the identifier, okay? So the list will loop through the array and let us know the current cafe it's handling in the closure, okay? So in the closure, we instruct the list how we want to present the cafe row. Here we simply present both the cafe image and name in a add stack, okay? So everything is unchanged. As you can see, the UI is still the same, but the underlying code was modified to utilize list with a collection of data, okay? So to help you better understand the purpose of the ID parameter in list, let's make a minor change to the cafes array, okay? Since we use the name of the cafe as the identifier, let's see what happens when we have two records with the same cafe name, okay? Now change, for instance, Hard Rock Cafe, okay, here to, for instance, Pinkland Cafe, okay, which is also here, okay? Then press resume, okay? So please take note that we only change the value of the name property and keep the image to Hard Rock Cafe, okay? The preview canvas should render the view automatically. So do you see the issue? We now have two records with the name Pinkland Cafe here and here, okay? You may expect the second Pink Lane Cafe record would show the pink lane cafe image. In reality, iOS renders two records with the same text and image. In the code, we told the list to use the cafe's name as the unique identifier. When the two cafes have the same name, iOS would consider both cafes as the same cafe. Okay, thus it reuses the same view and renders the same image. So how do we fix this issue? That's pretty easy. Instead of using the name as ID, we should give each cafe a unique identifier. Okay, now update the cafe structure like this. So here var id is equal to uuid with parentheses. Okay, so in the code we added an id property and initialized it with a unique identifier. The uuid function is designed to generate a random identifier that is universally unique. A UUID is composed of one 28-bit number, so theoretically the chance for having two same identifiers is almost zero. So now each cafe should have a unique ID, but we still have to make one more change before the bug is fixed. For the list, change the value of the ID parameter from name to ID, just like that. Okay, this tells the list view to use the ID property of the cafes as the unique identifier. Take a look at the preview again by pressing resume. This pink lane cafe record should show its own image right now. Okay, so we can further simplify the code by making the cafe structure conform to the identifiable protocol here by writing that. Okay, this protocol has only one requirement, that the type implementing the protocol should have some sort of ID as the unique identifier. Now update cafe just like that to implement the identifiable protocol. Okay, since cafe already provides a unique ID property, this conforms to the protocol requirement. So what's the purpose of implementing the identifiable protocol here? It can further save you some code. When the cafe structure conforms to the identifiable protocol, you can initialize the list without the ID parameter. Here is the updated code for the list view. So here you can actually delete that. That's how you use list to present a collection of data. Okay, so the code works, but it's always good to refactor it to make it even better. Okay, so you've learned how to extract a view. Now we'll extract the edge stack into a separate structure. Hold the command key and click as edge stack here. Select extract subview to extract the code. Okay, rename the structure to basic image row, just like that. Basic image row. Press enter. Xcode immediately shows you an error once you made the change. Okay, since the extracted subview doesn't have a cafe property, update the basic image row structure like this to declare the cafe property. So here you can write var cafe to be type of cafe. Okay, next update the list view to pass the cafe parameter. So here it's like that. Okay, now everything should work without errors. Okay, the list view rendered still looks the same, but the underlying code is more readable and organized. Okay, it's also more adaptable code change. Okay, let's say you create another layout for the row. So let me create it quickly. So stretch full image row, okay, to be type of view. Okay, here var cafe to be type of cafe. Okay, then var body open curly brackets. Okay, then z stack. Okay, image cafe dot image, okay, with some modifiers. So the first one is resizable, then aspect ratio with the content mode to fill, okay, then a frame with the height of 200, okay, then a corner radius with the value of 10, okay, then the overlay modifier, okay, you can write rectangle, okay, dot foreground color will be black, okay, corner radius will be 10, the opacity will be 0.2, okay, then here you can add a text object just like that, okay, rest cafe dot name, font will be system, this one, okay, title, and here rounded, okay, then font weight will be black, okay, and then foreground color will be white. Cool. So quickly, okay, okay, perfect. So this row layout is designed to show a larger cafe with the cafe name overlaid on top of it. So since we've refactored our code, it's very easy to change the app to use the new layout. All you need to do is replace basic image row with full image row in the closure of list. So here you can simply rewrite full image row and here write cafe. Okay, press resume. By changing one line of code, the app instantly switches to another layout. Okay, so you can further mix the row layout to build a more interesting UI. For example, the new design is to use full image row for the first 3 rows of data. The rest of the rows will utilize the basic image row, so you can update the list like this. So here you can write cafes.indices, okay, here you can change it by index, okay, then delete this line and write if 0 to 2 then contains index, okay, then open curly brackets, full image row will be self dot cafes index, else otherwise basic image row will be self dot cafes index. Okay, so since we need to retrieve the index of the rows, we pass the list the range of the cafe data. In the closure, we check the value of index to determine which row layout to use, okay? Cool. And if you want the dark mode, you can simply write here environment, then rewrite here color scheme, and here dark. Okay, I will launch the project on a real simulator and see what we get. Okay, cool. So that's the UI that we have created today. So that's all for today's, guys. I hope you enjoyed the lesson. Give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and I see you in the next lesson, guys. Bye bye. Take care.